Hello everybody and welcome back to the P1 podcast with Matt and Tommy. It's Monaco GP edition. We're ready to talk about a rather delightful Monaco Grand Prix, or at least there was a small pocket of delight which caused all kinds of chatter to talk about. If this is the first bit of content you are soaking up from us during this Monaco Grand Prix weekend, I want to say a few things. One, there is a DJ still playing outside, Sunset Beach Party or something. Apparently it's actually one of the big parties in Monaco, so no sleep for us. Two, we are in Monaco. Probably should have said that first, but we're in Monaco, hence the strange sofa. We've not purchased this as a part of the
and us wearing
business.
shirts as well.
We're wearing shirts. We're using these mics as well because something went wrong with something that we don't understand. So we thought we would do it again. Like we could be on that beach right now, but instead we are here recording a podcast because one, we want to talk about the race, and two, we want to share it with all of you lot, don't we, Tommy?
Yeah, we can't stay away.
We can't.
No, it's been an amazing trip, and we were like, this is our chill. But we just love this too much.
I know, we literally said, did we not? Oh, this is an amazing opportunity. We'll have like a weekend off. Not off, but like, we'll take it rather chill. There's us literally after the race finishes today going, how do we get back to our hotel? we need to record the podcast. We need to record Funniest Tweets. If you're thinking or wondering where Funniest Tweets is slightly delayed because it looks better when I do it at home with the green screen and stuff. But we thought we'd give you the podcast early. So here we are. We're sharing a laptop as well. It's so cute. My God. So many people, by the way, from our posts think we're now a couple. Make of that what you will. So let's start with my most memorable moment. And no surprise, it's the rain. The heavens opened. And I was, because we were watching on the wonderful Red Bull Energy Station boat, which we were kind of based at for most of the weekend. We could also go to the grandstand T2, which is not at turn 2, it's towards the end of the lap just before Rascasse. So we could see a bit of the cars, but also base ourselves if we wanted to watch the screens and know what was going on in the commentary. And I kept looking to the sky with the clouds starting to form, but it didn't really look like it was going to rain maybe as hard as it ended up doing.
No, I didn't think it would rain that hard. It looked, and I think a lot of fans said this, it looked like one of those races where it was going to rain after the session, or there'd be a threat of rain for the whole race, because it was dark clouds. And pretty much as soon as the race started, because it's been so sunny all weekend, and then it got so much darker and a bit windier, and you're like, this feels like it could rain, but it is Formula One, and it always seems to rain after the race. But no, we got the chaos, and boy was it chaotic when it happened.
It really was, because
it went from 0 to 100 so quickly.
Real quick. And that was one of the big talking points of the whole race, because we might have had a different winner if things had played out slightly differently. A question from Saiful Amran. Would Fernando have challenged Max for the win if Aston had pitted him for inters instead of slicks? Now, I am absolutely 100,000% convinced that if Aston Martin had chosen intermediates in that particular moment where Max had carried on for another lap, Alonso would have won that race. I am convinced. He came out the pits after pitting for another set of mediums, which, by the way, I can actually understand why Aston went for that, because it was a gamble. It was like, right, there's going to be a bit of rain, not sure how long it's going to last. This is maybe the window, that one lap they maybe saw as him having fresh mediums compared to Max having really shot mediums to gain 7, 8, 9 seconds on a slippery surface. But yeah, they got it wrong, didn't they?
They did. I see, like you say, I see why they did it, because, like we just said, there's a lot of races where it goes, rain in 5 minutes, and it never comes. So Fernando thought, let's go for it, change tyres, do something different to try and win, because worst case scenario is still going to finish second anyway, even if it did rain, because he had such a huge gap to Ocon. But I will disagree with you that I don't think Alonso would have got ahead, but it would have been a hell of a lot closer.
Let's go, hold on. We're going to have our first argument. Let me sit up straight for this
people
one.
like it when we disagree.
Yeah, no, okay.
I think he had too much of a big gap, although that the second sector was treacherous. I think, I imagine, obviously we're recording straight after the race, I'm sure someone will work it out, like how much slower Max did in that sector and what it was doing. But in terms of whether he would or not, like, I cannot believe that they did it literally as it happened. Like, he pitted for mediums as the others pitted for inters, and then it threw it down.
Yeah, then the heavens opened. So let us know which team you're on, Team Matt or Team Tommy, as to whether Alonso would have jumped Verstappen if they'd gone for intermediates. I remember, very aggressively looking at the intervals when that happened. As soon as Alonso pit, I was like, oh my God, if he pits, slippery surface, and then it dries out, and all they ever need is dries, Alonso could literally jump Verstappen in this one lap. It got chaotic. I reckon if those intermediates were stuck on, because it was about a 25-second gap when he came out the pits to Verstappen, that's 6 seconds he need to make up on intermediates in that middle sector, especially, that was basically a swimming pool.
It was crazy. The middle sector, even people on the inters were going off.
Lance Stroll, but we'll get onto his race. Oh my God.
We can do it right now because
shall we?
Most memorable moment.
Your most memorable moment is?
The mixed fortunes of the Red Bull and Aston Martin drivers. I don't think I've ever seen a more polar opposite race between teammates and you had it in both. You had Verstappen and Alonso basically 20 seconds clear of everyone, unbelievable performances all weekend, and then Stroll and Perez fighting at the back, just constantly having incidents. Just I can't think of how it could have gone any worse for Perez and Stroll. They had the worst races imaginable. Perez got lapped twice by Verstappen, and Stroll just couldn't keep it out the wall. It's just terrible.
It's actually a very good little highlight there from you. How genuinely their favours were so different. If you like Stroll or Perez, don't watch our driver ratings. That's what I'll just say.
Yeah,
because I think they're going to get quite a low score. I will give Perez the benefit of the doubt that I think it only would have been lapped one lap if he wasn't the guinea pig. But then the problem is he put himself in that position by crashing in qualifying and then having... the initial start of that strategy was actually really clever, and I thought...
We thought he was going to get a really good result.
That's really good. But the problem was, you had people like Logie Sarge that was like driving with 3 wheels on his car, it seemed like, how slowly they were going, and that just caused these massive gaps. And at one point you thought, Perez, this could work. But as soon as that happened, you're like, it's Monaco. He is stuck no matter what he tries.
Ironically, the fact that those two were together, I reckon if Stroll wasn't ahead, because the Aston Martin was clearly a good car, you'd argue, it's the second best car around there, and Alonso proved that. But Perez would have got through a lot easier if he wasn't also stuck behind Stroll and them trying to go past together. I think if Perez didn't have someone like Stroll in front of him in quite a quick car, I think he probably would have been able to put the odd move on Logan Sargent or whatever. But Perez was just waiting for Stroll to pass people before he could go past as well.
Yeah, there wasn't enough of a performance gap between those two cars, even because they were both having terrible weekends, that they couldn't make the move happen. Now there's a question from Domthers11. How long can an economically and success-oriented father protect his son until the goals fail because of his son? Basically, how long is Lance Stroll going to stay in Formula 1 for? And I will answer that and say for as long as he damn well pleases, because he has his dad. And I think as well, you could turn that on its head and be like, well, he is success-driven, so he wants to see his son succeed, and he would not let him just fail.
And he will not take him out of a car when he's finally got that. Lawrence has put Lance in a car, and then he took over Racing Point, and then they got better, and now Aston Martin are suddenly this top team. He's not going to then take his son out of a top team.
No chance.
But what I would say is that Stroll has not been performing particularly great. We'll go on to Esteban Ocon later, but I was saying to you that Esteban Ocon showed that Fernando Alonso is beatable occasionally, and Stroll's just not really got anywhere near Fernando all season. Fernando's got 5 out of 6 podiums, and Lance hasn't got one yet, or been really close to one. And I know that the top 2 is normally locked out by Red Bull, but it does make you think, is Lance is there even going to be one race where Lance is quicker than Fernando? And if you ask me now, I'd say no. I don't think it's going to happen.
No, me neither. That's why I predicted a whitewash in qualifying for Alonso over Stroll at the start of the year. Question from Vic Lou Gray. Does Checo's inability to make any real moves from the back show that overtaking has become too difficult? Well, I mean, it's obviously Monaco, so it's hard to kind of measure it as a whole. We know that overtaking has become more difficult in general with the fact that the teams are getting used to the new regulations, and if they're getting used to the new regulations, it means they're developing parts of the car to not only improve performance but make it harder for cars behind to follow, because of course that helps to defend positions if you disturb the air as much as you possibly can. I would say that yes, Monaco is very, very, very difficult to overtake. However, I'm going to say, I'm not sure if it's because I was here that you get a bit more excited and whatnot, but I actually found it really intriguing watching the gaps between Verstappen and Alonso, and just there was that element of what is Alonso going to do here? Is he actually going to get track position eventually? Now, I'm not going to say it was an absolute banger because it wasn't by any stretch of the imagination, and of course the rain has glamorized it quite a lot, I would say, as to where it would have been if you rated it out of 10 before the rain hit. But there was Monaco is that race where it is all done in the strategy. It's all done in the pit stops.
And there is jeopardy. Yeah. Right? Even if it had been dry, Verstappen was on, going on mediums for as long as he possibly could when the tyres weren't very good. And, maybe they would have fallen off a bit because we've just been waiting for a rain that maybe might not have ever come. And then they'd have both pitted on the last lap, and then would Alonso have caught up because he can do it. So Monaco, it's too hard to overtake. I do think Perez would have maybe made some more overtakes. We saw maybe a surprising amount of overtakes for Monaco, really. The wet weather helped. There was a few cheeky dive bombs. The thing with Monaco is you have to go for the move, and it's either going to be clumsy or you take your front wing off.
Very true. Yeah, there was a lot of clumsy moves going on out there, mainly done by Perez. There was Sainz had a clumsy move on Ocon, which he was very lucky to, one, not wipe both of them out of the race, but to also not get a penalty, and that I guess was because it was a minor bit of contact, and Ocon carried on. But yeah, Sainz was a little bit eager on the brakes there. You could tell he was maybe getting slightly frustrated.
That was a classic Monaco frustration. Any other circuit, and sorry to be a broken record, but one race a year where it's a bit different because Ocon's not getting that podium at another race because every car would have breezed past him. Sainz was so much quicker, but he couldn't get past. And in a weird way, it was kind of interesting because you had an Alpine in a position that it shouldn't normally be. Whereas, if you're at a modern circuit, Sainz just breezes past in the DRS and Ocon has no chance of podium. So it's definitely something different.
Absolutely. Question from Matt Brown 50. Just how much does today matter in the battle between Max and Checo? Was it almost always going to be a write-off for Sergio after qualifying yesterday? Now, as you may have seen, we've been with Red Bull, so we've actually heard some Q&As and things like that, and Max predicted today that Checo could score maybe a couple of points. That's all he thought that was possible from the back of the grid. So I don't think anyone came in with the expectation of Perez being able to pull off something that would minimise the pain that was going to be after this race. So
it could have got 8th or 9th if it wasn't for all the clumsy contact and stuff.
I think, I'm wondering even if he could have, though, because of how much the likes of Logan Sargent and the other slower cars really did gap the rest of the field. He pitted, cruised up to the back of Stroll at the time at the start of the race, but then was just stuck. So who knows? I think maybe a few points were on the board, especially with the rain. But it's, and in terms of the general fight between Max and Checo, I've kind of clocked out from that now, in the sense of Checo has had a good start to the year again, but he had that last year as well. But there are these moments where he just doesn't perform to the level of which he should. Making a huge mistake in qualifying has essentially ruined his entire weekend. It's like crashing out in the race, really, qualifying for Monaco, because his chances were completely scuppered. So it's hard to see past Max Verstappen because you just don't see those mistakes anywhere nearly as often. Like you just know he's going to perform to a level that is very, very hard to beat.
I think that race showed more than anything that Sergio Perez is a very good driver, but that race proved that there's a difference between a very good driver and an all-time. I think Max is an all-time great already. He's 39 wins, which is scary.
I mean, yeah, if people will be like, how can he be an all-time great already? If you've got 39 wins,
he's very high on that list.
2 world titles.
Yeah,
he hasn't proved himself, let's say, in 3 or 4 different eras of Formula One and different regulations, like Hamilton has, for example. But in the time in which he's been in the sport,
done 2 so far.
Yeah. He's done pretty well for himself. And even though he's 20 seconds down the road, he was still sending it into every corner, touching the barriers occasionally, he said as well. And I think it might have gone slightly amiss, or maybe I don't feel as though maybe spoken about enough. Let's try and get my own words out as well. Is his ability to have not crashed at the end when that rain came down on 55-lap-old medium tyres in the lead of the race with Alonso bearing down coming into the pits. We didn't see hardly anything in terms of an onboard from him, which I would have loved to have seen. The leader on 55-lap-old mediums with heavy rain coming down, because I feel like we missed out maybe slightly on that. But it's a testament again that he was able to keep it on the road, unlike some other drivers. Sainz obviously spun off. You had so much chaos going on. I'm trying to remember all the things of drivers falling off. Magnussen, what was Magnussen doing? That man it was puddles everywhere, and Haas were like, just stay out. It
on hard
might dry
tyres
out
as well. Like, what are you doing?
It's just ridiculous, wasn't it? It was laughable.
Yeah, because it was one of those things where he was staying out for so long that he'd have probably lost a whole pit stop in 2 laps. So it's literally pointless. You're not going to achieve anything. It's not going to instantly become bone dry in a lap, and you've already lost all that time, and you're going to bin it. So it was just a crazy roll of the dice, and then people tried full wets because the Inters were struggling, but
that was when Perez was being the guinea pig.
Yeah,
he just wanted. I guess Red Bull just wanted to use him as a bit of a test subject to see whether the wets would switch on, if the rain was going to come down more, and it was a clever thing from Red Bull to do, because what else are you going to use Perez for in that state? And then, of course, you had Russell and Perez coming together. Russell saying after the race that he threw away a very easy P3 by making that mistake, and then obviously rejoining in an unsafe manner. Perez just smacks into him. It was carnage at points.
There was 10 laps, I'd say, of just like, oh my word, this is crazy, because it was a slow burner. And even if it hadn't have rained, like I said, we might have got something exciting with the strategy. But when it rained, boy, was it just like, it showed that you didn't get overtaking and stuff, but it just showed that it was just dramatic, and you just had so much going on that it was just like you didn't know where to look. People going off. It was really, really exciting.
And also, I cannot believe there was not a safety car.
No, there wasn't.
No one binned it into the wall apart from Stroll, obviously. But in terms of like a full-on total needs to be craned out. We didn't have a safety car in a race where a rainstorm came out of nowhere, when a lot of the drivers are on really worn tyres,
and a lot of them went off. I think Sargent completely messed up at the hairpin, and you thought someone's going to go off where there's no runoff or something, but no one did. And actually, speaking of the rain, something I haven't mentioned yet that I don't think we're going to come on to, but in a weird thing that I never thought we'd say about Monaco, because normally it's a race where people are just looking forward to the end, it would have been fascinating to see another 10, maybe 15 laps, because it was so dry at the end that I think people would have been pitting on that what the final lap was. If there's 10 laps, people would have been gambling at that point, because it was bone dry, and then we'd have seen another change of the conditions, and it might have switched up again.
So what you're saying is you would have liked maybe a 90 to 100 lap race around Monaco.
But only if it's the exact window of rain.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, you didn't want much. You got the rainstorm, Tommy.
Yeah.
Now you wanted the wet to dry as well. Like, how much more do you want from the weather? But yeah, it would have been fascinating, apart from the fact Verstappen was about 25 seconds down the road. If he'd been maybe 10, that might have been a little bit more interesting. Another question from Jacob Dean HRN. Can Monaco now be considered as one of the best races this year just because of the pit stop strategies? Well, I think you can also throw in the rain, to be honest with you there, Jacob.
Yeah.
Like, that was the main thing that put it right up there, and the pit stop strategies were, by the by. I don't think there was a huge amount that was exciting about that. Of course, as I said, Alonso was quite interesting to watch to see if he could genuinely try and challenge Max at one point, but I think the rain and the jeopardy of those 10 to 15 laps really sort of thrust Monaco right to the top of the pile, really, of this year so far.
Yeah, and what I would say is Monaco is such a unique race, you can't really judge it compared to others. But I think that race did show that we need strategy in Formula One. We don't need one-stop races where everyone starts on the same tyre and pits, because we had an interesting story that the leaders were all on different tyres. You had people on hards, mediums, to try something different because it was hard to overtake. But we need that at a normal track. We need 2 stops. Because it doesn't really matter too much about having thousands and thousands of overtakes. We all love overtaking, but when people are pitting and the race is evolving and changing through pit stops and different strategies, it keeps the race entertaining at all times. And I think that's something that, again, they need to look at.
Absolutely, but well done, Monaco. I think you did a very, very good job. Like, you did good for an old girl. You know what I mean? Let's quickly talk about Esteban Ocon, who actually said to the microphone, to the cameras, was it Besties on the podium, baby? Which, well, that's quite cool, and kind of squashes, unless you've seen the podcast we did, squashes any thoughts of him not liking the term Bestie, because he called him it himself, which is quite something. But an amazing performance.
He said on our podcast, if he wins a race, he'll say Bestie is P1. Didn't quite happen. It wasn't quite there, but he did do the Bestie thing for his podium. And
so we need him to win ASAP. That's one of the main reasons why I wanted Verstappen and Alonso to have a little whoopsie-daisy, and then Ocon wins, so that then he goes,
drops our branding in there as well.
Bestie is P1 with Matt and Tommy.
But Ocon, what a drive. Not to be pessimistic, but that could legitimately be the only midfield podium we see this year, bearing in mind you've got 4 top teams. It's going to be so rare. We only saw one last year, Lando, and it was a chaotic wet race like this, so you're probably going to need that again. Unbelievable drive. I apologise for missing this, but I've heard a lot of people mention that potentially Rossi, as in not Valentino, Laurent Rossi, maybe saying something about Esteban not performing or something. I don't know what it was, but they were talking about that maybe he said something about Ocon, weirdly, and he's kind of been under pressure from Alpine, which is very strange to me, because I don't get where that's come from. Like, Ocon is not performing badly this year, but that race, what a drive. Amazing quali, amazing race, and look what Stroll is doing against Alonso and can't get anywhere near him, and look what Ocon did against Alonso, and he had the more fortune at Alpine, but he could beat him in qualifying on certain days and could outrace him, and 100% Ocon is the most underrated driver in F1. Like, no doubt.
Yeah, and I put a tweet out after the race saying I think it's about time that we respect Esteban Ocon as a really good driver, because he's, of course, a race winner, which, yes, there was some luck. There was a Nicholas Latifi in the way of most of the field, but he still fought off Sebastian Vettel to win that race, and he has had podiums in the past. He's shown great pace, and I think, again, he's one of those drivers that is proving that if he has the package underneath him, and he's confident with it, he can deliver to a really high level. Because Alpine looked really good, didn't they? In qualifying, they were right up there. And then Ocon managing to put it so high up on the grid, of course, helped with Leclerc getting his penalty. And then using the characteristics of Monaco. Saturday is the most important day.
Yep.
He delivered. And then, to be fair as well, his defence on Carlos Sainz was, you ain't coming past, boy, which, of course, is Monaco. It's quite difficult to pass anyway. But, especially in those rainy conditions, it was carnage.
Yeah.
And he still just about managed to hold on.
He did. And just such a great drive. And let's not forget, Ocon at the start of his career was brilliant in his debut with Force India. Did great against Perez, and he was very highly rated in his first year. Obviously had that break, and if you remember going way back a bit, but Bottas, when Bottas wasn't performing against Hamilton, there was this big narrative of like Ocon was like what Russell was. Of like, get Ocon in that Mercedes, he'd be better. Loads of fans were saying it, and he's had an incredible junior career, and I think he's done really well in F1 as well. And what a performance!
Absolutely. So we now move to crowning our biggest winner.
Ocon.
I think that pretty much. I'll think of another winner. You're going with Esteban Ocon. Yeah. I believe Oscar Piastri as a bit of maybe not the biggest winner, but like a consolation prize, because I think he again was very much on the pace with Lando this weekend. And let's not forget, Lando is a very, very good driver around Monaco, despite the mistakes he made in qualifying. But I noticed that Piastri was doing pretty well as well. So I think he deserves a shout out amongst all of the chaos of what was the Monaco Grand Prix. And then the biggest loser. Okay, which one are you going to take?
I was literally about to say, who wants Perez and who wants Stroll?
I'll take Stroll.
I'll go for Perez.
Yeah, that is a race both of them want to forget for the rest of time. Now, let's reflect on our predictions now, shall we? And Tommy might get his smug face out at some point. In fact, actually, he got so smug, he put it on Twitter, sipping a martini spritz. Why don't you explain who you were replying to?
It was just someone basically saying that I should be a comedian because Ocon, why am I going for Ocon for biggest good surprise in Monaco? And I don't think I'll ever make a better prediction than that, to be fair, because, boy, was that a good surprise. Like I said, could well be the only midfield runner that gets a podium this year. So, well done, Bestie.
Well done, Tommy, as well.
Thank
so that
you.
is 1 point. And I went for biggest good surprise, Fernando Alonso. And I think I deserve a point here as well. Nearly pole position, P2 after... I'm not saying that Aston Martin fell off, but there was that slight dip where you went, they're not actually that close to Red Bull. Then you come here and they gave us some kind of race at least, unless, of course, towards the end, Max stretched his legs and Aston Martin made maybe a strategy blunder. Let us know what you think. So, point, I think so.
Yeah.
Cool.
What a crazy scenario. You think back to when Fernando Alonso joined Aston Martin and they were last in the constructors? Well, they were behind Williams, weren't they? No, maybe ninth.
No.
Just one ahead of Williams. That you'd be going, Alonso finished second in Aston Martin. Does that count as a good surprise?
Yeah, it's so weird that Alonso getting
so
a podium.
Good. It's just, it's common now, isn't it?
Yeah, but 5 out of 6 races, Fernando Alonso on the podium, 12 points behind Perez in the championship. Not sure if that says more about Perez or Alonso. I think it's a mixture of both.
Yeah.
Points for both of us. Well done. Right, we now go to biggest flop. I went for Charles Leclerc, who had a decent qualifying, then got a 3-place penalty, which I think is rather floppy. And then, of course, in the race, strategy didn't go the way in which he was hoping for. He didn't particularly blame Ferrari or anything. It just was the wrong side of the coin, and finished P6. So 6th and 6th. That's rather...
It's borderline.
It's borderline.
Because he's beaten his teammate. It's like... It was weird because I think this one has to open up to you guys because...
I think it's pretty floppy. Qualifying... I mean, he's a qualifying beast.
It's kind of like...
Didn't qualify like a beast.
He's not done as well as he thought at Monaco, but was it a disaster? Not really.
It says biggest flop, not biggest disaster. And it depends how you measure a flop.
It's tough. I think.
Let me know in the comments if I get a point or not, please, chat. chat. I'm not live on Twitch. Viewers, listeners. Okay, cool. So we will just wait and see what the comments say. And the top comment with the top upvotes will be the one as to whether or not I get a point. Please, come on. 6th place round Monaco. Tommy, what's yours?
Mine was Lewis Hamilton, which no.
That looked like it was on pretty...
A lot of times.
Like qualifying, you were like, oh, free practice as well.
Yeah.
And then he was like, no.
And then he just kept making it through and had a decent race. I can't believe both Ferraris ended up behind the Max after all that. Didn't see that going.
That's pretty biggest floppy if you ask me. Pole position. I went for Fernando Alonso. Now
close.
I want to talk about potentially a half point here, because what a prediction that almost was, and it was correct until 2 corners from the end, half a point.
If Max hadn't have done the most insane swimming pool section.
That's why I was gutted in the video that we shared. It was obviously gutted that Alonso didn't get pole, but also because I knew there was a point or a couple of points actually up for grabs, which was very upsetting.
But no points. And Charles Leclerc, no points either.
Yeah, that was... I mean, to be fair, qualified 3rd, but then started 6th. Okay, my top 3. I went for Alonso, Verstappen, Perez. No points.
No.
Good, although that could have been 2, very close to, but got it the wrong way around because I was on the hype train for Fernando, but at least I didn't jinx him.
No, and my predictions were terrible. I went for Leclerc, Perez, Sainz.
So
none of them even on the podium.
6th out of those 3.
Yeah, that's mad. Yeah, well, that wasn't great. Really hanging on to my SD Bestie prediction.
You really are. You wanted 10 points to didn't you? And then for the one crazy prediction, I said it won't rain, and I will gladly score no points because that
well done.
That helped, right? You know, you're welcome. Because to be fair, through Friday and Saturday, when we did the predictions, the forecasts were bad. Like it looked like it was going to rain the whole weekend. We were like, oh no, we're going to a race and it's going to be pouring with rain, but it wasn't. And then the heavens opened. My point went down the drain, but the race got exciting.
Sure did. I went for Red Bull strategy blunder.
No.
Unless
the strategy is not crashing into the wall.
Yeah, you'd argue that it was Aston Martin that made the strategy blunder, and no points apart from Ocon.
So we both scored 1 point this week.
Potentially, depends what chat says.
Oh, chat, help me out. Chat, why am I calling you chat? This is not
I
live.
said chat as well.
I know, you just screwed me over. Anyway, Tommy, let's just very quickly reflect on Monaco and what we've experienced these last few days.
Yes.
How can you sum up what you've experienced and what you've lived through these last few days?
I can't.
Right, moving on.
No, it has genuinely been the most surreal, unbelievable weekend of my entire life. Like, I cannot believe just getting into Monaco. Like this morning, you haven't seen it on our stories. We were getting the boat in, and Toto Wolff was in front of us, gave us a little wave, and it was just like, what is this whole weekend? You know, we're just two plebs, like you've said many times, like die-hard F1 fans that have got to experience like the most unbelievable F1 experience, and I just never thought I'd be able to do something like this. So yes, it's been very, 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 very good. I loved it.
Yeah, it's been one of the most special moments of my life, genuinely. It's everything about it has been unbelievable. I know, of course, I'm stepping into enemy territory, going into Red Bull, but they were amazing. There were so many lovely, friendly people there that work for Red Bull, and I'm like, you don't hate me, do you? And they surprisingly, they don't, which is great.
Instagram stories.
Yeah, they literally came and filmed us because you lot had been like, because they'd put up the question thing where you go, what do you want to see? And then lots of people submit stuff. And a lot of you were going, Matt and Tommy. So we filmed a story for Red Bull, and it's on their bloody Instagram right now.
I love it was like, the who do you want to see question, and it's like, Matt P1 and Tommy P1, and then the next one is Kylie Minogue. It's like,
there's us and then there's Kylie Minogue. But no, I've tried so desperately to soak every second in. And I just kept looking at my watch going, oh, it's Saturday, it's 1 p.m, still got a few more sprints to get down me. And, I'm just trying to just look around and be like, I'm in Monaco for the Grand Prix. There's yachts, there's, you just, oh God, it's just unbelievable. I don't know what other superlatives I can use. And I don't really know how to process it. I think it might take me a few days after you get home and you just really reflect on what happened, because we can't believe we're here. You probably can't believe we're here.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell? There's people that are going, they let anyone in these days. And I'm like, quite frankly, they do, clearly, because we were there. But I just want to say, as I always do, thank you to everyone that listens, to watching our videos, to allowing us to be at the stage we are with P1, where we're getting invited to bloody Monaco to go and do a race. Go and do a race. We didn't race ourselves, but go to the race. I've never done it before, and it's something I'll never ever forget. And as well, we've loved doing these bits of silly content in my hotel room, putting a tripod up, filming, chatting with you guys, and maybe it's something we can do more of in the future when we do go away and do things, because your messages, the messages of support that you've sent over the last few days have been absolutely overwhelming. The stories we've been putting up, and I've read every single one of your messages that you've sent in to just say that you're really happy for us, and yeah, it's been absolutely incredible. So I just wanted to have a little segment, and so did Tommy as well, to just share a little bit about that, and also to thank you lot for being amazing and supporting us through every step of this crazy, wild adventure.
It's very crazy. I think that was putting it mildly.
And on that note, Tommy, final thoughts?
Final thoughts are...
You might be able to hear that, you might not.
Yeah, you might
DJ
not.
is popping off out there.
What can I say? I am trying to soak this all up. It's going to be very weird when we're back to normality. This place is very, it is like another planet. It's just...
It's like Butlins on steroids.
What a crazy...
you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's like it's its own neighbourhood. It's its own world, really, isn't it?
It is. It's just like nothing else. It's wild. So yeah. Wow.
Okay, cool, brilliant.
What a weekend.
Tommy.exe has stopped working. My final thoughts are thank you, Monaco, for the rain, and thank you for creating a rather spicy race for us to talk about. We will be back, of course, for more. Funniest Tweets will be coming out. We'll do our driver ratings, where we'll go through each driver a bit more specifically, and when we've had a bit of time to maybe soak up what's actually happened in the race as well, so we can give you a bit more deeper dive analysis than perhaps what we've done in this podcast. But... on that note, we are going to now get ready to go out in 12 minutes. So, peace, lots of love, and we'll see you very soon for another piece of content. Bye!
Bye! Let's go party at Rascat.